Hello, folks, and welcome to the show. This episode, we are going to change things up a bit. I'll get into that in just a moment. But our guest today is an investigative journalist, medicine consultant. She is the director of a documentary film, Vanishing of the Bees, which is a fascinating and very interesting documentary. You can learn a lot about that. And she is also the founder of an online magazine called Honey Colony. I'd like to welcome Maryam Henein to the show. How you doing?
Hi, Dylan. Thank you.
Yeah, it's nice to have you on the show. I know we kind of been back and forth a little bit today, but one thing I just kind of before we get started, I guess I kind of want to share like an important message. That, like I said, I think this episode for my guests and my listeners is going to be very important. It's something I'm very passionate about. I'm into. I've been following for a few years, and it kind of started with like holistic healing, and I was trying to fight diabetes, and I learned that there's ways to do that without the use of medicine and big pharma. And so I kind of started to dive into things and question everything that I heard from my doctors, or I heard from say the media and stuff like that. And then even to the point where like I dug a little bit and went down a 9/11 rabbit hole and realized that what they were telling us about 9/11 wasn't exactly the right things. And then when this whole virus broke out, I realized that there's definitely an agenda being pushed, and that some of the rules that they apply to this virus they're kind of ridiculous. They don't really make a whole lot of sense scientifically or anything like that. And just one thing that I thought was really cool was that I you were actually on one of uh, a show that I listened to a lot, macroaggressions, the other day, and it's kind of great to have you on the show. So that's kind of like a little synchronicity for me. I thought I got a little kick out of that today. But so I guess being a journalist and coming from a journalistic background, how does what do you think? What are your thoughts behind the media and journalism?
Yeah, I think that's a great place to start because it creates a foundation to where to establish the lens that I look things through, and I see things from not only someone who's reversed their autoimmune condition, someone who's a real journalist, someone who's an entrepreneur, who's a functional medicine consultant and a filmmaker, and look at all those different perspectives and sit at that intersection. So I think when you start getting censored as a journalist, digitally assassinated, articles start disappearing that you've written, you start getting smear pieces, it goes to a different level. And I've been on a spiritual path since I was 13. Wasn't politically awake or involved, more in focused on food politics. But as of late, I guess since blowing the whistle on Bayer and realizing that at the core we're being poisoned slowly by sublethal doses, and I say that now includes genetically modified information. So you realize, like, I'm disgusted by the industry of journalism. You learn about yellow journalism, and this is not news that the media is tainted, but the levels in which we've reached as far as gaslighting, as far as basically doublespeak and the ministry of truth, and it's all lies. And very few people, very few corporations, five control the whole media. And so you hear over and over again, if it's, let's say, in regards to the coronavirus, the Rona, or the elections, how can the entire world be in on it? And it's something that's not comprehensible. But you learn as a journalist, you get the wires when you're covering the news, and those wires or those press releases are serve as the background to write an article. So when you hear, for instance, with the elections, you start hearing this phrase that this is the most secure election in US history. That's a little bit much. It's like you're trying a little too hard. There is no way, if you really start looking at details, that you would conclude that there isn't at least merit to look further into the elections, like at the very least as a Democrat, regardless of the aisle. So, to answer your question, I mean, I brought this today. This is Scientific American. This is a truth versus lies. So you have the opening entry by the editor talking about gaslighting. It's basically peace gaslighting people who think that they've been gaslit. Then you have, further in, I'm just, give me a sec. Why we trust lies. The most effective misinformation starts with seeds of truth. They are basically telling us. But when you get to the section when it talks about people who question vaccine safety, people who question the Rona, and people who question um, electoral fraud, the very things that you touched upon, they lump it all together. And when you fundamentally know that these are vaccine maniacs and there is injury, you know, because they're lying. Then you know about the virus, you know they're lying. Then why wouldn't it be lying about voter fraud? It's all a effing lie. And so there are no, and then real journalists, I don't get play. I write basically for free because the publications that, and I don't do it for money. So it becomes, why is it that I'm banned from PayPal, GoFundMe, Kiva, Airbnb, Instacart? I was banned from Amazon for 2 months, shadow banned on Twitter, lost my YouTube channel. I'm a real journalist. And so I hope that answers your question. It's disgusting.
Yeah,
Media is,
that
is the enemy of the people for realsies.
and that seems to be a growing concern for a lot of people, podcasters, journalists. People are getting banned when they're speaking out against this narrative or whatever's going on, or they're speaking out, and it's stuff that doesn't necessarily match what the, I guess you call the national media, is saying. Um, so why do you think you started getting shadow banned? Do you think it was, and you said you lost your YouTube channel? Was it based on just stuff that you were reporting?
Well, each platform is slightly different. At the root, I guess I'm a deplorable and intellectual refugee, someone that wants to beat to my own drum, that doesn't conform. I mean, I'm all for the greater good, and I'm honored to be around other patriots or people who love the Constitution and who want sovereignty and work alongside them. I think it's really from blowing the whistle on Bayer, being told while I was making the movie, you better watch your tires. And so these allegations cannot be proven of the myriad subtle ways in which you're um, terrorized. There's a ceiling to success. Like, God forbid that I would want to make money and be abundant by actually helping people. And so I started covering what a term I popularized, techno fascism, in 2017 because of CBD. But I'm pretty sure I'm on a Bayer shit list. I mean, you hear stories. I've heard stories of celebrities being told, if you go down this avenue to expose any corruption or malfeasance with a vaccine, that your child will be hurt. You will not work in this town again. I'm part of Operation Quack Hack. Under the Rona, we are ushering in, or the global elitists are ushering in whatever the hell that they want. And it's all under the guise of safety, all under a supposed emergency that's not an emergency anymore. And so Operation Quack Hack goes after online websites, and health professionals that dare to sell CBD or vitamin C or NAC, anything. As you know, No one on the COVID-19 task force talks about the immune system. The only person who has is President Trump, who's mentioned zinc. And regardless of using Regeneron, I mean, there are other therapeutics. This is less fatal than the flu. The CDC, it's there, and we're getting caught up in oh, did the person die with COVID-19 or of COVID-19? Why is it that every time I ask someone, and I've been covering this since January nonstop, I've switched over to focus on the elections right now, but why is it? I mean, we've known for a long time that this is less fatal than the flu, and it's ushering in other things. Anyway, so I was saying, sorry, I trailed off there. Part of Operation Quack Hack, coming after me, coming after others, putting people in jail. People have suffered strokes. People have woken up and had their website of 23 years gone. Now the latest thing, yeah. So then I lost my YouTube channel. I am not Amazing Polly or SGT Report because I was working on building my company and saving my company, and not on monetizing or wanted to brand myself. So I worked really hard to get like a mere 6,000 subscribers and felt shadow banned there. And I gave a talk alongside Del Bigtree and Aaron, the nurse whistleblower, and Dr. Carrie Madej, which is an honor. And I was already in jail, and so I had come out of jail, and my settings are set to private. So I uploaded my talk, and I noticed that it was live. So people were interacting with me. Then I went upstairs to where I was at my desk, and the whole channel disappeared. Ironically, while I'm covering the Punch Google lawsuit headed by Zach Voorhees, the Google whistleblower, with
Wow.
plaintiffs such as Amazing Polly for activist post. So the irony there of losing my channel, it's not a class action lawsuit. I would not want nothing more than to see justice from fucking Google. Can I swear on this show? Sorry.
Yeah, you're fine.
Apologize.
So, as far as the elections are concerned, do you feel that there's been some rigging going on, and why do you think that is? If that is what you feel.
So I put out one overall piece, kind of a broad view, going into it basically to want to present it to rational left Democrats, because this is voter integrity should matter. So now it's a rabbit hole. It's full of effery, and like right now, when before the call I was listening to the canvasser, the Michigan canvassers, there's so much going on and so many details, and unfortunately we live in an age of mediocrity where no one looks at the details, but they matter. And so we lump things together, whether it's big COVID-19 case demic numbers or so I went into it. It is indisputable, given the surmounting, whether it's affidavits, whistleblowers, mentions of fuckery, Dominion voting. And when you find an Lou Dobbs did a report 14 years ago and was talking about Dominion and stealing elections. And I've covered the Greece economic meltdown where people I saw, witnessed, they thought they were part of a democratic process, but it was all, to use a Greek word, malachias, which is bullshit. Then you're like, Lou Dobbs, like if I covered something 14 years ago, hell yeah, I would say in my report, I covered this. This is not new. So, you know, things are memory hold. People don't realize. People are busy now. They're under lockdown. They're who knows what state of survival they are in, and there is this extreme gaslighting going on. There, these digital warriors, these truthers. I'm part of so many groups. If you're looking, it's, yeah, we have enough to say there's some fuckery going on here. And let me say this: when you know that the Rona is less fatal than the flu, and you come upon meetings as early as April and May and June talking about millions of dollars that they want to secure for their CARES, as part of their CARES Act, to ensure mail in voting. And that if you go back, You can read a report by Jimmy Carter. The Democrats were saying that these machines are putting the democratic process, these Dominion voter machines or electronic voter machines, um, just putting the democratic process in danger. And now, all of a sudden, as in this topsy turvy world where it seems like the people fighting for our constitutional rights are Republicans, conservatives, the Democrats are just gaslighting and painting Orange Man as unreasonable, these lawsuits as flimsy, Giuliani is like focusing on his hair dye, um, and just gaslighting. And again, to go as far as to say that this is the most secure, it's like, oh, a little fishy. So, coronavirus was used as a smokescreen, as a Trojan horse to fiddle with a lot of laws, procedures having to do with the election. I came across a website with hundreds and hundreds of suits where the coronavirus disrupted procedures. Then you find out that a law firm like Perkins Coy and Mark Elias is behind a lot of laws have been changed to make amends. This craziness about mail in ballots. So now you're celebrating a premature supposed election of Joe Biden and you're in the streets. Why the fuck couldn't you go 3 days before and vote in person?
Well,
Because it's sorry.
and I think a lot of the conservatives kind of picked up on that early on when they were trying to do the mail-in voting, that there was going to be some, maybe they just, I think a lot of conservatives felt like there might be something about, with that that seemed suspicious.
Yeah. It's suspicious, and there are so many permutations of possible, not to discount human error, which may be negligible on the scale, but when you go to bed and it seems like one candidate is winning and then you have votes for Trump going down, they're supposed to go up. So sure, you can count more votes for Joey, but why are they switching? Like it's almost it's obvious, um, and to paint people who are standing for. I mean, it seems to me that it was a landslide. Maybe I'm biased in that way. I do come from thinking that I was, I can't relate to Democrats. I mean, they attack my person. They engage in ad hominem attacks. So let's say when you have like Ali, who's one of the organizers of Stop the Steal, saying that Democrats are racist pieces of shit. I just think I'm better than that. I'm not going to engage in that type of name calling. Um, it's below us. If we engage in the same and the real virus of fear and hate, then why are we any better? If we start censoring ourselves as we stand for free speech, it's like what I call the piggy effect in Lord of the Flies. Like you're starting off, you want to create this progressive revolution that's different, and next thing you know, you're throwing Piggy off the cliff or throwing a rock at him, and you're the same shit that you try to avoid. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Now, what do you think the agenda is? Is it just the Democratic Party trying to push, their candidate, or is there a greater agenda for having Biden in office than Trump?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question, Dylan. And I think that if you're a truther, regardless of whether you're a patriot, that you have to entertain that this is all political theater, that the real goal game is divide and conquer. We are so polarized, we're living in different realities. And if you keep that in mind, because it used to be that you can have a discussion with someone with keeping your emotions out of it or your severe TDS for Orange Man. And again, once you learn how the media maligns the president, then and you start been listening to him every single day, and I see it, then you start reconsidering things. You start realizing that you're being used as a pawn. And so let's say it's all divide and conquer. I really do think that they need someone like Trump in office to really continue this civil war where BLM may look like a walk in the park. And so you would have the media tell people they actually think this is not the official, it's not the media that announces. Like we've seen anchors, hosts
Right.
that glitch out for thinking that. So I would think, I mean, every day it changes. Let's see what happens today in Michigan. I don't know if they've decided yet. I stopped listening to the meeting. There seems to be a lot of like urging to do the patriotic think and certify instead of no. Let's make all the people feel comfortable. And if there is, if Trump is really for the people and is anti-establishment and is not being played by forces behind him, because you can't put all your eggs in one basket. I mean, that would be a great thing that once and for all the media is taken down. I mean, we can. I mean, of course, I would love that. Who knows how the scenario plays out? I had people are getting locked out of their Twitter accounts for posting an article that links the CCP with Dominion. And if you see like a show like Bill Maher or any show, any nightly news, how like I just did my little mashup of it's almost like they're given the questions and the narrative is like, oh, Trump is not conceding. Like, isn't that an interesting theme in this year where we're being asked to concede and people are just happily giving up their freedoms and embracing their fucking face diapers?
Right, and why should he concede? I mean, it's the closest election possibly in U.S. history, and I mean the shadiness and the you have to question some of the things that have went on in some of these states.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, you Yeah, and I think it's really like a red flag that the mainstream media has gone severely the other way. And there is it's like it's such a caricature. We're like, it's this, we are living in clown world. And I just wonder, they have all of our data sets. Data is the most precious asset. And it is infectious hate, and like there's so many really dumb people that are attacking and being violent, and if you respond in the same way and like an eye for an eye, then I don't really think anything gets solved. Um but I do know I'm in San Francisco right now, and I'm a very sensitive human, and like I need to get out of here. um
There's a lot of people leaving California these days. Is that what you mean
China
by get out of here? Yeah.
California. Yeah, I'd like to either go back to Costa Rica or Florida.
Yeah, that's tough. And then, like you said, they used, the COVID-19 to justify the mail-in voting. What are some other things that you think COVID-19 is being used? Obviously, it's to push a vaccination agenda, but I think the vaccination itself we can dive into. I mean, it goes deeper than that, right?
Well, these pandemic preparedness experts, pandemic impresarios like Fauci, the fraud, have said that they've been preparing for this. I mean, he's likes to say, 6 presidents, 36 years. You've been around a long time. You got a lot of viruses under your belt. H1N1, SARS, Zika, talking about a novel coronavirus in 2017, all the bullshit you're peddling, the scientism. It's like science adjacent, someone said. I think it was amazing, JP Spears. Science adjacent. So, what are they ushering in? Attack on natural remedies, compliance, social credit system, great reset, um, smart cities. whatever, like Klaus Schwab says in the book, The Great Reset, which I have to go back to, was reading it and then got my Amazon account taken away, that this was chilling. And I say it a lot, that Klaus says that from here on out, it will no longer be BC before Christ and AC after Christ. From here on out, it will be before Corona and after Corona. And I mean, I think a year going strong and covering this, and I think I need to be in nature, but I'm a little bit burnt out, and I can only imagine if people are consumed by fear and don't know what's going on, and must be a lot of confusion, a lot of depression. I think the thing that I resent the most is having humans more unhealthy than ever. And you think that face diapers, you're like drinking a beer, you're 50 pounds overweight, and you think that face diaper is going to help you. Like, it really shows, yeah, they see us as useless eaters. How hard is it to think that when we're just like, oh, yeah, hashtag I can't breathe, wink, wink, sure, sure, whatever.
Well, what bothers me too, it can be so frustrating, is there's so many people that just kind of fall in line and do what they're told without thinking for themselves. They're like sheep, and it's it's daunting to me. Like, even like with the vaccinations, I mean, you could look and see that there's the ingredients that they put in these things cannot be good for humans, and plus they're linked to all kinds of different things that, you know, cause harm. um I don't know. uh
When you, so Dylan, when you know that in your being, that these vaccines are evil. If you think of a witch's brew and you think, oh, we're going to take fetal tissues, we're going to make money off fetuses with Planned Parenthood's help, we're going to use them as a substrate to grow our live viruses, and then we're going to inject them back into babies. Like, let's just sit with that. It's a little fucking evil. And so when you realize that that's happening, when the food supply, we are being poisoned, then this is evil. Why can you not, in your brain, get over your cognitive dissonance and realize that something is afoot here? And this is like the West world. This is a great awakening. And they're painting it, everybody's a conspiracy theorist, actually saying during meetings that there is no censorship or prejudice towards conservative views. No, the coronavirus, and it's one thing to realize the sheeple, but then it's like, how about all the people who are just doing their job? You have, like, Nancy on American Airlines saying to people, we don't care if you have a health condition. If you can't bear to wear a face mask for 6 hours, then you can no longer fly. And not thinking that that's discrimination, actually thinking they are doing the right thing. They know shit. And I'm not saying this is not a real virus. My uncle died. He did not die of the coronavirus. I'm not going to get into it. Oh, how do you know he didn't die? He died of the ventilator. You're putting someone in a coma, you're giving them sedatives and a whole bunch of drugs, such as fentanyl, and you're expanding their lungs, and you're disabling their ability to use their own lung capacity, making them further reliant on this ventilator. You're not modulating properly. You're probably overstretching the lungs, causing more inflammation. There are tons of studies on ventilator associated pneumonia. And why is it every time I ask, oh, were they put on a ventilator? 8 out of 10 times, I also get yes. And now they're dead. So it's like, again, someone shamed me on Twitter and said I'm a horrid human. Because, first of all, spoiler alert, we die. I am at peace with dying. I've been fascinated with death. It's the first article I ever wrote for the Montreal Gazette, was the rise in cremation rates. I went to the premiere of 6 Feet Under. I've always been fascinated with death and how we deal. That's not what I'm scared
that's
of.
what
I'm
my
scared.
show's about.
Really? What?
Yeah. Like near-death experiences, past life regression. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know, but I've had an NDE, and really having someone else's death at 13 really break me open and have my spiritual awakening. So I could come across as being cold towards death, but if I'm like, I'll tell your widow friends what they really died of. And it's like, bring me every single dossier and I will go through it. I want to know what they had before, how old were they? That's functional medicine. What drugs they
Yeah.
were given, what ventilator or not ventilator, what comorbidities, so on and so forth. And if they really gave a shit about their health, then they should have eaten better and taken care of it. And then you have people like crying on NBC Nightly News. This is the virus where you can't touch the other person. Yeah, that's because they're doing that. It's not because you can't touch the other person. Everything's through fucking plexiglass. This is moronic. Like I don't know how many times a day I'm like, what are we doing?
Well, I mean, what about the point of just going to dinner with like your family or with your friends out to dinner? Like you have to have a mask on walking through the restaurant, but then it's safe for everybody to sit down at the table and take their mask off and eat. It doesn't make any damn sense to me.
Yeah, it's absolutely moronic. This is like the most smart virus. You know, the beach is closed. Oh, it opens at 9:30. Oh, Rona knows how to start at 9:30. The Rona's gonna why, Newsom, are you shutting shit down at 10? Um, and then someone actually told me it's because UV lights, the sun is not out, so the virus. First of all, you have to be in close proximity with someone for hours. And if that was the case, why are we flying? Now, one mask didn't work, so they're saying that you need to double up. What do you think is they're priming suppressing the immune system? The fifth leading cause of death is respiratory illness. People do die of pneumonia. That is correct. And there are other ways, like even like HBOT, putting them in hyperbaric, trying other ways. And I think there's different strains, and it will affect people in different ways, whether they get a cytokine storm or not. And every case is individual.
Well, and the very testing's flawed too. I mean, I don't even know how they can even use the numbers correctly or compare numbers. I mean, it all just I don't know. To me, it all seems like a big ass hoax. I mean, I know
It is.
I don't doubt that there's a virus, but it's just so I don't know. It's just
That's it. The PCR since February. Kerry Mullis said it's not a diagnostic tool. By the way, he died in August of pneumonia. If we ran a fucking PCR test on him, who knows what he would have been told. That he also had the coronavirus. That's very convenient that Kerry's not there. But he said on record, this is a sham magic trick, and it's evil how they are using it and legitimizing more tests, more tests, more tests. I don't want to be tested. I want to be tracked. I don't want to be traced. I don't want your fucking swab up my nostril. I don't need it. You want to wear a mask, you want to get vaccinated, my body, my choice. Sure, go ahead and do that. I'm not doing that. I don't want to do that. I will die on that cross if I need to. I'm not going to cave. I'm not going to cave on that.
yeah.
Um,
I had a discussion with my family about that, a similar thing that I'm willing to die before I get vaccinated.
I think they will be satisfied. They're testing us. They're doing all bunch of different tests in different areas and checking on us. They track every hashtag we do. The fact that they know, oh, we were going to lock the people up now that are daring to even question if there's any links between Dominion and China, and then lock them out for 12 hours, right on the heels of having a hearing meeting where Ted Cruz is telling Jack, why are you censoring the president? What happened when all of a sudden we're little children? We don't know when to wash our hands. We don't know when to stay home when we're sick. We don't know how to discern things. This is not democracy,
Yeah,
folks.
it's control and it's psychological warfare. I mean, they're shaming people into wearing masks and things like that. Wearing masks, just fall in line, do what you're told.
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. The PCR test, it's like if you knew that, then it's like the end. It's the end. The end. The fact that Portugal, there was a trial, and I'm trying to find people in California that have had their lives impacted or shamed or, excuse me, as maybe specifically maybe college because of a PCR test. Why is it that I know three people who've gotten sick after receiving the PCR test? Two of them are dead. One of them was 80, the other one was my uncle at 84. And then I have a friend who's convinced, I mean, he's been getting tests twice a month, I believe, if not more, on Hollywood set. And for 3 weeks, it's like, oh, let's, Florida's not locking down. Let's crank up the numbers over there. South Dakota's not complying. Let's crank up the numbers. Let's use fear, 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 and you know, it's bullshit. It's a magic trick. Pharmacia means sorcery.
And like you said, and not giving anybody any solutions, right? Not help, like giving them suggestions to boost their immune system or to do something that would actually be productive as far as fighting a virus. It's just put your mask on and do what you're told.
Yeah, and I wonder. You have Trump. Um, Standing for like standing as a leader, not being like I recovered, and they keep on demonifying like the little mishmash that I did. Biden is basically saying that he'll be responsible for 400,000 lives if the transition doesn't go smoothly. What
It's a
kind of bullshit is
virus.
that?
Yeah, I mean, how could it be
How are
anybody's
you
fault?
throwing numbers? Where are you getting these numbers from, Joey? Where are you getting them from? How can you blame this man? Like you throw a virus at him, and then so is this like a script? Like every morning they're like here, then you have some congressmen, senators that think that this is real, and then you have now someone like Sidney Powell actually straight up talking about the fact that this is communist. Well, that's all what we've been saying. So are we all living on the same storyline on one side and then another? The Democrats keep on saying, certified to ensure democracy, certified to ensure democracy. And I have my friend say, oh, Trump's just being a retard crybaby. Really? What, what are you referring to? What are you referring to? You're just repeating something without. Are you looking at the lawsuits? Are you looking at the affidavits? Are you looking at the deluge of information that's coming from Nevada, Arizona, Michigan, Pennsylvania? Well, I am, because I really want to know what the truth is. And I'm a trustworthy human, and I'm devoted to the truth. I think there's corruption, obviously, on both sides of the aisle, but the patriots, or the people who are, someone like Ted Cruz, is standing, someone like Linwood, Sidney Powell. At least these people are talking about God and the Constitution.
From your investigating, what's your take on it all? In what do you think maybe the outcome's going to be?
I mean, I'm in the future, but I think it's I know that they won't let up, the people who are ushering this new world order and using the Rona as a virus. Who was it that just said there'll be more viruses? Oh, it's Biden. Oh shit, like I didn't capture that bite in his talk. He actually says there'll be more viruses. Um so it's just, are they going to bust out COVID-21?
Yeah, it's kind
Just
of like Bill Gates saying, "Wait until the second wave." I mean, like, what the hell is that? What do you mean,
well,
wait
he
till the
talks
second
about
wave?
germ warfare too. Hmm. I mean, I don't know. I would think if I was writing this script, and I often can tell what's going to happen in the end, I would say that it's going to get dragged out. I was thinking about, well, if civil unrest is going to happen, it can't really happen under the dark winter and crazy lockdowns. So, will the people defy the lockdowns? Will this erupt in February? If you look at the Transition Integrity Project, it's pretty clear we're going to be in the suspended animation for a while. Um, and then, yeah, if I was writing the script, Trump would be president. And then the left would get a rude awakening. Like right now, they're like, I feel like the second shoe is going to fall. Yeah, because you're not paying attention to what's really going on. And is it up? It's up to us. How do we dismantle the media? There's enough evidence to just take a pause and take a look, and to say there's no hammer and scorecard, there's no integration to the internet, there's no links between Dominion and Smartmatic, there's no links between George Soros. I think that enough information has come out. I don't know.
What do you know about the Luciferian race?
I just know there's a lot of Luciferians. I don't know enough. Are you talking about the 13 families? Are you talking about the Rothschilds?
I'm talking about the potential thing that they're going to use to scan for vaccinations.
Oh, the luciferase, the enzyme?
Yeah.
I'm going to be interviewing Dr. Carrie Madej tomorrow, and we'll be asking her about that. It's an enzyme, basically. Early on, my theory was that in Wuhan, it was a smart city, that we know that there's been vaccines out of Italy. There was a study that showed that there was nanoparticles, unidentifiable nanoparticles. And I think that there could be how the vaccine is parlaying with Cinco Geo. Having lived across the Cinco Geo pole, I'm using code word. So that's my theory. I think Charles Lieber, the nanoscientist, is involved, that he's a high prized asset that's conveniently on the sidelines, and we don't know where he's at. Last I heard, he was suing Harvard for not covering his costs of his suits. They own part of his home. They got him out of jail for $1 million. Um, he's partnered. He's a prized asset out of Israel. He's created, yeah, I believe that there's, whether it's with luciferase, I think there's nanotechnology involved to parlay. And I just don't think we're at our best when we're disconnected from nature and we're having all these EMFs. So that's what I can say about that. I know enough to say that these Moderna, the vaccine, first of all, everyone's applauding this McMedicine, this fast track McMedicine. Like, bravo! Why is faster better? Is fast food better? Is fast sex better? Well, no. So it's like, someone asked, like, well, how long does this usually? Yeah, it takes years, and then it's still not safe. What, 8, 10 years, and now you're like applauding this McMedicine. So we'll see. I was asking Dr. Judy Mikovits on how they determined the 95% efficacy, their magic show, knowing how biased science is, and scientific studies, scientific.
You think it's part of a potential for global depopulation?
Yeah, I've been talking about depopulation for years, and it was just like, couldn't couldn't. I remember last year having a conversation with Zach before the Rona, and it came up. We did a man on the street with people in January, and I'm like, let's do it on the coronavirus. I'm calling it the virus that didn't cry wolf. What does that mean? Well, this is what I mean. Yeah, people talked about depopulation. Absolutely, these eugenicists, that's part of their climate change initiatives. Yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, why is it that One in every two people has a chronic illness, and this coronavirus takes out people with chronic illnesses. And now they're only depleting. And when you're wearing your face diaper outside, just I'm baffled and I don't understand it. Closing down gyms, using more sanitizers, toxic chemicals, depressing the immune system with a face mask. It's all weaponizing the fever gun, which I predicted in February, lowering the body temperature, using the fever, yeah, as a weapon. Cough is, I mean, is a crime. God, it's just all to train us in the social credit system. Yeah.
And that leads into the Great Reset. What are your thoughts on that? And what can you share with the audience? What is the Great Reset?
Well, I would suggest that people not to give Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum more money, but you can go to their website if you don't want to buy the book. And it's really an opportunity to get off of, it's a technocracy. It's getting off of the dollar, um, fusing data. We become data. It it will come with the social credit system.
Is it cryptocurrency? Most likely.
Yeah, it'll be cryptocurrency. I mean, it's just like being happy owning nothing, right? Habitarian. Just it's for the planet because now they're using the coronavirus and fusing with climate change. The vanishing of the bees is 10 years old, and I started filming it in 2006, 2007, but it's still relevant. And I was in the future to tell people that we're being poisoned, and ultimately it all comes down to us being poisoned and being awake to what's really happening with our food supply. So the bees, we are the bees, and they are very important. They're ancient creatures. So the film looks at colony collapse disorder and ultimately comes to the conclusion that Bayer crop science and their nicotine based systemic pesticides are harming our pollinators, and arguably pollinators are indentured slaves, and they're being trucked around from monoculture to monoculture. And like Michael Pollan says, who's featured in our film, that's, nature doesn't put all her eggs in one basket. So it's just the realization food is thy medicine. Maybe it's because I almost died that and I grew up chubby and struggling with my weight, and to really realize how sacred food is, and that I don't want to put any poisons, whether it's chemicals. And I say, like, if you can't pronounce the ingredients, you probably can't digest them. And that goes beyond, because I had, ironically, after making Vanishing of the Bees, was sprayed by chemicals and I had, well, they said I had lupus and fibro, but I also had chemical body burden, and I've become like a bee, like an environmental indicator. And I'm very sensitive, and that's a big bitch. But like the bees, I can tell, oh, like there's a leak here, or there's something smells toxic, and people who don't have a clue. I guess it's a blessing and a curse for sure. So the bees really, I joke that all roads lead to bee, and symbolically what they represent, the sacred feminine, the greater good. And you could, like, what is the greater good? Who determines what the greater good is? Well, bees leave the environment in a better condition, and they feed us, and they give back, and they work together for the greater good, meaning that they'll sacrifice their life for the queen, but it's really for the continuing continual of life, continuance of life. And yeah, so I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. Where can we check you out at on Twitter, and what platforms you're not banned on?
Yeah, so I'm already have a strike on my backup channel, but I can give you the link. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subs to personalize. and start again. I am on BitChute. I am on Brighteon. It's a little fragmented, isn't it? I pretty much live in Twitterville, and I think I give prolific threads, and I scrape footage. So Maryam Henein and Thread app, and then you can buzz on over to Honey Colony, which is my magazine and marketplace, and also Simply Transformative, which is where we offer CBD. All our products are made in America. And yeah, thank you, Dylan.
Yeah, thanks for being on the show. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah,
Thanks.
same here. Thank you.